Hey guys, it's Megan Lee, and welcome back to Beauty and the Beasts, where I get to mix my love for skincare and makeup with some spooky storytelling. I am so excited to be here with you because this is my first Beauty and the Beasts session since I had my baby boy. And honestly, life has been a bit chaotic, and I haven't really been taking care of myself like I used to, so yeah, I've been fully focused on my little boy. But tonight, I'm making time for myself, and I'm so glad I get to spend some time hanging out with you guys. Today, I am going to do a quick makeup routine because I have to shoot another true crime video right after this. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Today's story is a wild one. Have you ever wondered if there could actually be an eye that actually sees ghosts? It's a terrifying idea, right? Personally, I'd rather not see or know anything about the supernatural, but we've heard a lot of stories about people who claim they can see things the rest of us can't. Now, what if you got an eye from someone else through a transplant and you suddenly see things? Would it feel like you suddenly have a superpower, or would it turn into a total nightmare? This idea taps into one of the biggest mysteries about the human body. When you get an organ transplant, is it just swapping out a damaged part like getting a new battery in a car, or is there something more? Could the essence of the donor, their memories, or even their personality somehow stay behind in the organs they donate? Some people who've had organ transplants say they didn't just get a second chance at life. They also inherited parts of their donor's habits, tastes, or even fears, which is a crazy idea. It does sound like something straight out of a horror movie, but the thing is, there are people all over the world who swear this has happened to them. They started craving foods they'd never liked, acting in ways they never had before, and even having memories that didn't belong to them. Okay, now like with any good spooky story, we have to remember it's hard to say if these claims are true or not, but that's what makes it all so fascinating, right? Well, let's jump into this creepy and intriguing topic about a girl who got supernatural visions through someone else's eyes. And the story is even said to be the inspiration behind the horror movie, The Eye. So if you're into that stuff, you might want to check it out after this. Okay, let's get into the story. Let me take you back to April 2001. It was just an ordinary day until this tragic but intriguing article appeared in the South China Morning Post, one of Hong Kong's major newspapers. This article reported on this devastating fire that had torn through a small, peaceful village in northern Thailand. The scale of this tragedy was hard to wrap your head around. Hundreds of people were either dead or injured. Now, we don't know for certain if there was an actual fire in northern Thailand, but in an interview with the Pang brothers, the directors of the horror film The Eye, they revealed this terrifying fire scene in their movie was inspired by a real event, the Bangkok gas explosion on New Petri Road on September 24th, 1990, which killed almost 100 people. So whether or not the supernatural elements linked to the village fire are true, the fact remains that there was an actual devastating fire at the core of this story. But anyways, back to the story, it wasn't just the sheer size of the disaster that gave people chills. There was something even creepier about it. The article mentioned that a young girl had actually predicted the fire before it happened. Her name was Ling, and in her village, people talked about her, calling her the cursed witch. And the most eerie part about the story is that Ling had taken her own life right before the fire, almost like she knew it was coming and couldn't face what was about to happen. And as you can imagine, this little article caught a lot of people's attention. Everyone who read it was left with so many questions. Who was this girl? How could she have known that a fire was about to take place? Pretty soon, rumors started spreading, and the mystery deepened with people talking about it nonstop. But to really understand what happened, we have to rewind a bit, back to 1989, where Ling's story really starts. So here is what we know. Ling was a young girl living in northern Thailand, and we're not sure if she was blind, but she wasn't able to see properly since she was a child, with no one really knowing the cause. So her mother, heartbroken for her daughter, did everything she could to find a solution. She traveled from hospital to hospital, asking for advice, hoping for a miracle. And eventually, one arrived. A doctor finally gave them hope, a corneal transplant. For those who don't know, the cornea is the clear layer at the front of your eyes. So if it becomes cloudy or damaged, like in Ling's case, you can't see properly, or at all. But if you replace that damaged cornea with a healthy one, there is a chance that you can restore someone's vision. For Ling, this was life-changing news. There were way more people in need of corneal transplants than there were donors. Basically not enough corneas to go around. But then, like some kind of miracle, a donor came through for Ling. And it was like fate had finally decided to give her a break. The surgery was a success. Afterward, Ling felt sharp, stabbing pain in her eyes, totally normal for such a procedure, but she was just too excited to care. She couldn't wait to see the world again. And as the days passed, the pain lessened, and slowly, miraculously, her sight began to return. It felt like a dream for Ling. Ling's life was about to become normal, or so she thought. Everything seemed fine at first, but then she was walking by a playground near her home, just minding her own business, when she noticed something odd. A single shoe lying in the shadow of the swings. Ling bent down to get a closer look, and to her horror, she realized it wasn't just any shoe. It was a blood-stained high heel. A chill ran down her spine. She looked up and noticed a woman standing nearby, wearing a matching pair of heels, the exact same kind as the one on the ground, minus the blood, of course. It was a strange and eerie moment. She didn't know what to think, so she hurried home. When she told her mother what had happened, her mom reassured her that it was just stress from the surgery playing tricks on her mind. And after all, it wasn't unheard of for people who had undergone corneal transplants to experience strange visions. So she thought maybe it was nothing. But 3 days later, nothing turned into something much more horrifying. Ling was walking by that same playground again when she noticed a crowd gathered near the swings. Her curiosity got the better of her, so she approached, and what she saw made her blood run cold. A woman had been murdered, and the police and medics were there recovering the body. But it wasn't just any woman. It was the same woman Ling had seen a few days earlier, wearing the exact same pair of heels. The very ones she'd seen covered in blood. Coincidence? Maybe, but you can't ignore that eerie detail, the blood-stained shoe. Ling tried to shake it off, but deep down, she knew something wasn't right. And after that incident, more strange and disturbing things started happening to Ling. Visions of death, strange occurrences, something about that corneal transplant somehow connected her to something far beyond the natural world. And she was about to realize that her new sight came with a price she could have never imagined. One day, Ling was walking down the street when she passed a woman. Now, nothing seemed out of the ordinary at first, but as she got closer, something terrifying happened. Ling was suddenly hit with a vivid and horrifying vision. The woman drowning. The image was so real, so intense, that it stopped Ling in her tracks. She couldn't just let it go. Panicking, Ling grabbed the woman and, with urgency in her voice, warned her, "Excuse me, this might sound crazy, but you might drown, so please be careful." And you can probably imagine how that went over. The woman, completely taken aback, looked at Ling like she was a crazy girl. She was apparently upset, so she hurled a few insults at her and stormed off, not wanting to hear another word from her. Ling was left standing there, shaken, but still certain that what she saw wasn't just in her head. And she was right. Later that night, the whole village was buzzing with grim news. A woman had been found dead in her bathtub, having drowned. And, as you might have guessed, the same woman Ling had warned just hours earlier. Can you imagine how she must have felt in that moment? Shock, fear, guilt. So from that moment on, she became convinced that this wasn't just a coincidence. She really had that power to foresee death. What kind of life can you even live as a young girl, knowing you're burdened with such a horrible, uncontrollable ability? It didn't take long for her visions to become relentless. They weren't just popping up every now and then. They started haunting her constantly, day and night, whether she was awake or asleep. These terrifying images would flash before her eyes, never giving her a break. Ling's mom couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her daughter's new eyes than she had been told. So she started digging, asking questions at the hospital, and what she uncovered sent chills down her spine. The cornea donor wasn't just anyone. It was a powerful shaman known for her ability to communicate with the spirits and see the future. This shaman was known for strong spiritual abilities, but for some unknown reason, she had taken her own life. When Ling's mother found out, she was horrified. She decided right then and there to keep it a secret, thinking that it would be better if Ling never knew. But even though Ling was in the dark about the donor, her condition only got worse. The visions, the sleepless nights, the fear, it all became too much for her to bear. Ling fell into a deep depression, plagued by insomnia, and eventually became a prisoner in her own home, too scared to even step outside. But that wasn't the end of it. One night, she had the most vivid and terrifying dream yet. In this dream, she saw her entire village consumed by flames. People were screaming in pain as the fire tore through everything, burning it all to the ground. And this wasn't just any nightmare. It felt way too real. Ling woke up shaking, convinced that this wasn't just a dream. This was more than that. She believed it was a vision of the future. Around this time, the village was gearing up for its biggest event of the year, a festival that brought in crowds and a good chunk of the village's yearly income. But with her new ability to foresee disaster, Ling was convinced that this festival, with so many people in one place, would be the spark for the tragedy she had seen in her dream. And she was desperate to stop it. Ling and her mother went door to door, begging the villagers to cancel the event. They warned everyone that something terrible was coming and pleaded with them to stop the preparations. But, of course, with so many money at stake, no one was willing to get a strange prediction ruin their biggest event of the year. So instead of listening, the villagers turned on Ling and her mother, accusing them of spreading dangerous lies and causing unnecessary panic. So the festival went on as planned, and for a while everything seemed to be going smoothly. Ling watched anxiously, fearing the worst but hoping, just maybe, that she had been wrong after all. But then the unthinkable happened. A young guy made a careless mistake, and it led to a gas explosion, a huge one. It sparked a fire, just like Ling had seen in her vision, and the flames spread fast, way faster than anyone could have imagined. They didn't just hit the festival grounds. They ripped through the entire village. People were trapped, screaming, trying to get out, but the fire was too much. The damage was unreal. Most of the villagers either died or were seriously hurt. So you can imagine the chaos and heartbreak that followed. The village was in ruins and people were grieving hard. And like we often see in these kind of tragedies, they needed someone to blame. And who did they turn to? Ling. They started saying that she had cursed the village, that this whole disaster was somehow her fault, even though they hadn't listened to her. Things quickly spiraled. The villagers' grief now turned into anger, and before long, a mob was formed. They were furious and wanted someone to pay. They stormed Ling's house, broke down the door, but when they got inside, it was already too late. Ling had taken her own life. Beside Ling's body, they found a note. And in that note, she poured out her anger and sadness toward the people who hadn't believed her. She also wrote that she wanted to donate her body, just like someone had donated her corneas to her. Ling's mother was completely shattered. Losing her daughter like that was more than she could bear, and in her overwhelming grief, she also took her own life not long after. So the tragedy didn't end with Ling. It consumed her mother too, leaving the village even more devastated and full of unanswered questions. As for Ling's eyes, they didn't go to waste. They were transplanted to someone else. And to this day, some people believe that Ling's eerie ability to see death didn't die with her, but instead lives on in another person, haunting them, just as it did Ling. This tragic and creepy story became one of Thailand's most famous urban legends, whispered from person to person, passed down over generations. But what really makes this story even more fascinating is that it didn't just stay in Thailand. It caught the attention of two Hong Kong filmmakers, Danny and Oksai Pang, also known as the Pang brothers. At that time, these twin directors were still newcomers in the film industry, but when they stumbled upon this story, they were immediately captivated by the tale of Ling. It was so powerful, so haunting, that they decided to turn it into a film. The Pang brothers said in an interview that they speculated on what the girl might have experienced upon regaining her sight, leading to the film's narrative. And in 2002, they released the horror film The Eye, that told the story of a woman who, after receiving a corneal transplant, begins to see the dead. This movie, The Eye, really hit home with audiences, especially horror fans across Asia. And it also got rave reviews, especially in Korea here, where people couldn't stop talking about it. But it wasn't just about the movie people talked about. There were rumors that the cast and crew claimed that unexplainable events happened on set, especially when they filmed scenes in abandoned or eerie locations. So here's one creepy example. During a scene shot on a train where two main characters are sitting, the reflection of a ghostly face reportedly showed up in the train window. What makes it weird is that this wasn't planned or scripted. It was only noticed after they reviewed the footage. Another time, some crew members said they experienced sudden temperature drops while filming late at night, even though the weather outside was warm. They also heard strange noises on set, like whispers or footsteps when no one else was around. The cast and crew brushed off these incidents at first, but after multiple strange encounters, they started to believe that the movie might have attracted spirits. Some of them even performed traditional blessings or rituals to cleanse the set and ward off any bad luck. And the rumors didn't end there. After The Eye was released, creepy rumors started spreading about the strange things happening during the movie screenings. In multiple theaters, the film suddenly started playing in reverse, and it always happened during the same scene, the highway car accident where a ghost appears. So now you might think, okay, maybe a projector glitch, right? But here's the crazy part. This glitch didn't just happen in one place. The same issue was reported in other theaters showing the movie. And also the editor of the movie said that when he was working on that exact scene during post-production, his computer would crash repeatedly. It became such a problem that the editing team started joking that the scene was cursed. While there's no official explanation, people started to think that the eye was cursed. Some believed that the spirits in the movie were connected to real-life tragedies, whether it was all just weird coincidences or something more supernatural. It definitely added to the movie's eerie reputation. The movie became a huge hit, and in 2008, Hollywood jumped on board with a remake starring Jessica Alba. So this is a tale that makes us question the line between gift and curse, and the price of knowledge we're not meant to have. But here's the thing that really gets me. Why do some people believe organ transplants can transfer memories or abilities? It's not just in movie, guys. There are real people out there who swear they've experienced personality changes or gained new skills after transplants. Experts call this cellular memory, the idea that cells in transplanted organs, especially the heart or other major organs, may retain memories or patterns from the donor's life. While it is still a controversial and largely unproven concept in science, there are strange real-life cases that make you wonder. Well, to mention a few, a vegetarian developed a sudden craving for chicken nuggets after receiving a heart from a fast food-loving teen, while a non-musician became a skilled pianist after a transplant from a musician. One woman had vivid nightmares about being murdered, later matching her donor's real death. So there are endless stories of people gaining artistic talents, speaking foreign languages, and even fearing heights, all connected to their donors. Though science hasn't fully explained this, these cases make us wonder if our memories and identities go beyond the brain. I don't know about you, but Ling's story definitely makes me think twice about the mysteries of the human body. It is a reminder that even with all our medical advancements, there's still so much we don't understand. So, how did you like today's story? Would you be cool with gaining some supernatural powers one day, even if it totally changed your life? And also, if you're curious about the products I used today, I've listed them all in the description box, so check that out. Okay, see you soon, and have a great night.